not heard about Indivisible, there are many local chapters. Jacksonville Indivisible and Soy City Indivisible are actually the groups that put together this forum. We also put together the first forum that we did back in November, and I believe we were one of the first forums to actually get going. I felt like we lit a match under the district to really, get behind these candidates, but I don't think that it's the job of these local groups to do so. While we are happy to do so, I think we need our parties to get a little bit more involved in rural Illinois as well. But as I was saying, if you have not checked out either of those Indivisible groups or another local to you, please do so. We run on volunteers only, so we'd be happy to have you. First, to start us off for this evening, I guess this afternoon, I'm going to introduce a few candidates who are running for office here in Decatur, and they're going to have just a moment to tell you what they're running for and who they are. First, I'm going to bring up PC Holt, who is going to be running for Macon County Board, District Number 5.
Hi, good afternoon. Like you said, my name is Casey Holt. I'm running for Macon County Board. I really was inspired to run after watching so many people run unopposed for a very long time. I'm actually one of the first Democrats to run in my district for almost 20 years now. So I'll be honest, my platform is really simple. I am a healthcare worker. I have watched the healthcare situation in our county get worse and worse. Something desperately needs to change. And I believe one of the biggest things that we can do to help this change is to stop relying on corporations to do it for us and instead empower our county health department. A big part of what the county board does is controls the funding for the Macon County Health Department. I believe that we can do better. I believe that we can serve our city and our county even better. And that is part of the reason that I want to expand that. I want to do more for our county. We desperately need it. Healthcare here is suffering. Our citizens here are suffering. We need to do better. I'm a mom to 4. I also work in maternal and infant health, and I watch these populations struggle every single day. So I want to see better for our constituents. I care about the people here because I live here. I see the people in my neighborhood every day. I'm just a normal person. And I think that's more of what we need. So thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to chat with me afterwards, I would love to talk with you.
Next up, I'm going to welcome Brian Smith, who is running for Macon County Clerk.
Thank you, Tabitha. Good afternoon, everyone. Just like all of you in this room, I know you want to hear the main event, so I'll repeat to you what Elizabeth Taylor said to her 6th husband: I won't keep you long. But to give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm a 6th generation resident of Macon County. I was educated in this county, both in the grade school, high school, and then in college level. I graduated from Millikan University in 1987. For 35 years, I ran a statewide association representing all the township governments in this state. And I am running because I feel that the voters, the electors of Macon County deserve professionalism at every level of government. Professionalism that guarantees efficient delivery of services and efficient government services that are provided. For those of you who may not know, the county clerk is the administrator of all elections in the county. He or she is the keeper and maintainer of all vital records, which include birth, death, and marriage certificates. They serve as the officer that extends taxes for the local governments that levy taxes for services in the county. They also serve as the office that redeems taxes for delinquent taxes. They're the keeper of all county records and the clerk for the Macon County Board. My platform is very simple. I want to provide professional services. I want to make sure that the residents in this county receive the information that they need, be very transparent, very effective in administering the elections so that they're free and fair and very safe. And there is no Democratic or Republican way to issue birth certificates, marriage certificates, death certificates. So I want to provide you those services in the most efficient way possible, and I would appreciate your support, not only in March, but then again in November. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I will begin a quick little speech and we will hear from our candidate. I just want to welcome you guys first to our second candidate forum for the Illinois Congressional 15th District. I also want to let you know that I extended an invitation to every candidate who is running for this office. We have 4 Democrats who showed up and accepted my invitation. We have 3 Republicans who either did not accept or ignored my invitation. Here in the Midwest, I think we really pride ourselves on being good neighbors, and we check on each other often. We share what we have in hard times, and I think understanding something very simple but powerful before we move forward. Our neighbors are not our enemies. We may not agree on every policy, every candidate, or every issue facing this county or country, but we do share a responsibility to this community and to the future that we leave behind. Right now, early voting is underway, and in moments like this, rooms filled with real people having real conversation outside of the Facebook comment sections are what democracy is supposed to look like. Not shouting past one another, not retreating into silence, but showing up, asking questions, and making informed decisions. Because elections are not decided by the loudest voices online, they are decided by the people who take time to participate. So today, my hope is simple, that you will listen with curiosity, that you will ask questions with respect, and that you will leave this room and you will carry this conversation on with you all the way to the voting booth. Let us begin. Mr. Paul Davis will kick us off with introductions, and we will go down the table from there.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Paul Davis. I'm a doctor of veterinary medicine and a bass fisherman. I am running for United States Congress in District 15 because I am concerned that as a district and as a nation, we've lost our center. Our politics have become too extreme, too divisive, and too disconnected from those of us that is supposed to serve. Too many of our politicians, especially the incumbent in the 15th district, care much more about making headlines than what's going on back here at home. I'm running because our small businesses and our family farms are the backbone of this district, and they need fair markets, reliable infrastructure, broadband that actually works, and they need policies that don't change every election cycle. I'm running because as a veterinarian, I'm a scientist, and the anti-science culture has me extremely concerned. Public health is not partisan. Medical and scientific research should not be political football. I'm running because we are underrepresented. I will commit as your representative in this district to be the representative for every individual in this district. Whether you vote for me or not, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, I will carry your voice to Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle Nudo, and I'm very glad to meet all of you today. I usually, for some reason, I'm getting a call. As I say, my name is Kyle Nudo. I am a union member. I'm a member of 3 labor unions, all under the AFL-CIO banner, and I have been endorsed by the AFL-CIO here in the state, as well as a number of other unions, firefighters, locomotive drivers, letter carriers, and the list goes on from there. One of the reasons that I decided to take on this task is because when I look at Mary Miller, I see someone who has violated every value that I was raised to uphold here as a son of Illinois. just like you, we trust each other, we help each other, we fight for each other. As a union organizer, I have fought for my sisters and brothers endlessly. I've worked in 47 states. I have been either the deputy or the union steward for nearly every job I've ever had. And what does that mean to you? Well, as a union worker, as a unionist, as someone who has protected my sisters and brothers to the tune of millions in new wages in national labor initiatives, this is the kind of shield I think a lot of people in this state are looking for, especially after the years, not just Mary Miller, but even before, years, decades of neglect. When I look at our small towns, I grew up summers on the farm up in Pike County, where my Knob Hill Farm, just south of the one stop sign in New Canton, Illinois. Farmers were trained. If anybody, there's any farmers here in the room, you know that you were raised to be a shepherd and steward of the land and the value of our heritage. Our farms are breaking down and have been for the course of my life. I'm 54 years old. I've seen hog farms just turn into dust in Pike and Calhoun and other counties throughout this district. It's 35 counties, either in part or in whole. There is a lot of work to do, and I've been doing that kind of work throughout my career. You could say that I have led a life of service. My mother was director of Easter Seals, executive director of Southwestern Illinois Easter Seals for the whole of my life as well. She served people with disability for every county south of Springfield. That kind of leadership is how I was raised. And that's the kind of leadership I will bring to this task if you'd like me to. If you'd like to send me to Washington to fight for you, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Reilly, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not running for Congress for myself. I'm running for Congress for my children, my grandchildren, and future generations, because it's time to fight for our country. It's being stolen from us day by day, piece by piece. I'm uniquely qualified to be up here. I've been a trained communicator for over 40 years. I'm a former farmer. I'm a former union steward for the United Steelworkers, and I'm the only grandparent up here. I have 5 grandchildren. 2 of them identify with the LGBTQ+ community, and I'm terrified about their future. My stand is I would like to rebuild rural America. In the district next to ours, Nikki Budzinski has brought in over $150 million worth of federal money. That translates into good paying jobs. Mary Miller has brought back next to nothing. I am for broadband for every household in this district, no matter how isolated. It allows people to shop from home, to work from home, to learn from home, and to socialize. It also brings our small business up where they can compete on a global stage. When it comes to healthcare, I'd like to work toward a single payer solution, but right here in this district, we have a problem that there's not enough mental health facilities to go along to take care of that. There's not enough facilities to take care of addiction. We've got to keep our hospitals open. We've got to keep our nursing homes open. And we've got to keep people on Medicaid. I'm also against big ag. As I go through the district, I find out that the farmers are being kept down by big ag. I'm for breaking up those corporations. But my friends, the future's up to you. I'm the guy with the fire and the passion and the wherewithal to go toe-to-toe with Mary Miller and MAGA and the administration when I get to Washington. Somebody came up to me the other day and said, I'm not going to vote for you because you're angry. You're damn right I'm angry. As Bob Marley once said, we need to rise up, we need to stand up, because whether you believe it or not, this is your World War II. This is your Vietnam. This is your generational crisis. Reserve doesn't count. We've been too quiet too long. And in the words of John Lewis, I'm ready to start some good trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Todd, and I started all this looking into this race back when I found out Mary Miller ran unopposed in 24, and I've been going strong ever since. For the last 13 months, I've traveled over the whole 35 counties, meeting everyone and listening to what they have, what issues and problems that they're having. A little bit about me, I have been a nurse for the past 32 years. I am a single mom. I have a daughter that is transgender, and I'm also a daughter of a veteran, and my mom was a nurse. So I came into nursing kind of kicking and screaming. But what needs to be done, when there's no focus on the 15th. And that's what I'm here to do, is to focus on the 15th. All of our things are going to be stripped away. Medicaid is going to be stripped away, whether we like it or not, come January 27th, of course, after the midterms. Our rural hospitals, like the hospital, even the hospital here in Decatur, they're having to shut down services to the point where we wouldn't have a hospital in some of these counties. And we need that critical access to hospitals and to care. We also need to make sure that I become a professional again. They took away the title of professional for nurses and for teachers and for speech pathologists, for they cannot increase their education to be able to move forward. Who do you think helps staff the urgent cares, the nursing homes, our nurse practitioners, our physician's assistants? We have to be able to get that back. And we cannot do that with what's currently going on in the Department of Education. Also, what's going on with the Department of Education is a lot of people don't understand how much, am I done? Oh, okay. So these are things, the reason why I want to run. I want to focus everything back here that has been neglected for the past 5 years.
All right, we're going to jump right into questions. We're going to start at this end and work our way down and then work our way back as we go. I'm going to start with ICE and DHS policy questions. Oversight and accountability for Mr. Paul Davis. Congress controls funding and oversight of DHS and ICE. What specific oversight measures would you support to ensure federal immigration enforcement complies with constitutional protection and due process?
I think first of all, due process is the key phrase in that whole statement. No one should be above the law, and we have to, I think, dismantle ICE in its current form. We certainly don't want to underfund border security, but at this point, I think it's way overfunded. What we don't use in funding the current version of ICE, we could certainly put towards hiring more immigration attorneys and judges to speed up the process. We can work on an amnesty program for folks that have already been here and been valuable members of our communities. The current state is inhumane, not compassionate, and I don't think any of us are in favor of it the way it is. So I think we do need to kind of defund and deconstruct and build back up from the bottom and come up with a more responsible and humane way to do this.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next up, Mr. Nudo, use of federal funds. Do you support increasing, maintaining, or reducing funding for ICE and DHS enforcement activities? If increased, where should they get the money? If reduced, what should replace those enforcement strategies?
Well, first, folks, ICE as we know it should be defunded. For my money, I think we need to unplug the money. We have been abusing our streets, abusing our neighborhoods over the last several months. I'm incredibly worried about where this is going next. If they can take anyone off the street, you better believe that they will. And, you know, there are so many lessons from our history, whether in Europe or even here in our own country, whether we're talking about the Gestapo or we're talking about our own slave. I'm so sorry, it's difficult for me to talk about it, but our the families and men that were sent out to chase down slaves. We have that history right here in this country, and it seems to me that we're just picking a different group. And those slave patrols are effectively the same people that we saw on January 6th, the same people that we put in prison for January 6th. And our current administration is letting them back out and sending them after you and me. So you better believe I would pull the plug on that. I think that when we talk about immigration, we need to talk about the root causes of migration. That we have a great American melting pot in this country, and a lot of people used to want to come here freely. We still have a good number, but a lot of people in many other countries don't want to be here, don't want to come here, don't want to participate with us in trade, don't want to have free markets with us or fair markets with us. Let me just finish up one little bit. You'll notice this name of mine, nudo. It's a funny word. It's Italian. It means naked, actually. But it's a name that I've, had applied to me for a long time. I've, gotten used to it. Pretty much everybody in this room, at least 1, 2, 3 generations back, was an immigrant. And I think we need to remember that and remember that immigration makes America stronger.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Mr. Raley, what standards should Congress enforce regarding detention center conditions, length of detention, and access to legal counsel for individuals held by ICE?
Well, number one, let's get to the root of the problem. Let's impeach Kristi Noem and her entire band of gypsies. There should be no detention camps in this country whatsoever. Let's call them what they are. They're concentration camps. That's exactly what they are. And the standards, if we're going to allow this to happen, should be of the highest. I believe we've had a number of congressmen go behind doors and they come back with some of the most gruesome things that are happening there. These people are human beings. They did not win the birth lottery. And so we've got to treat them like human beings, and we also have to allow them their due process. President Obama, I believe, deported 5 million illegal immigrants, and he did so through due process. So we didn't have to go through all of this Gestapo stuff on the street and assassinating American citizens in the street. So let me say there should be no detention camps whatsoever. This is not my America. This is not the America I grew up with, and this is the America I'm frightened about for future generations. But if there are detention camps, they should be monitored. They should have oversight, and we must make sure that medically and when it comes to food and all of that, they get the highest care available.
Thank you, Mr. Raley. Finally, Ms. Todd. Congress has failed to pass comprehensive immigration reform for decades. What is your priority reform, and what are you willing to compromise on to move legislation forward?
Well, they had a chance to actually pass new immigration reform, and that was right before the 24 election. And now President Trump put a squash on all that. And we need to be able to bring that back. Compromise-wise, there is no compromise. Everyone has a path to citizenship here in the United States. We need to make sure that it's legal and have proper due process, and we have to embrace everyone. That's what we are. That's what we were built on. That's how we became the United States. We have to do that, get back to that again. We need more immigration attorneys. We need more immigration judges. We need to streamline the process. We need to make sure the H-2A visas for our our migrant workers are up to date. We'll be able to get those workers in that we need in this area. And those are things that we have to continue to process and to make better. It is definitely a broken system, but we finally actually need to have people that are willing to stand up and fix the system. We need to listen to the immigration lawyers saying what's going on, what they're seeing. We don't need to be taking people that are trying to do the process correctly and detain them from their immigration meeting with the judge and detain them. That's not what we should be doing. We should be letting them come in and being able to be productive citizens, which they will be. And that's what we cannot compromise on. We have to be able to do that, and we need to do that. And so those are things that need to be done, and nobody's caring about.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Our next category is going to be veterans and military families, and we're going to start with Mr. Newdom. Healthcare and VA access. Veterans often face long wait times for care. What reforms would you support to improve timely access to quality healthcare for veterans in rural areas?
Well, my father was a Marine. He went to Vietnam. And I have visited a number of American Legions and VFWs. One of the best conversations I had was in Troy, Illinois, which is downstate, even further. And, you know, the VFW guys there, those vets, were telling me that they were incredibly happy with their expansion of access with their VA, that they've been receiving a lot of extra funding from the federal government, and that has helped them. But they say they need more. They're pleased with the expansions, they're pleased with the progress, but it simply needs to be more. We, all four of us at this table, are proponents of single-payer health care, that that's truly the only affordable way for people. And the VA is a fine example of single-payer health care already in this country, as is Medicaid, as is Medicare. The VA itself has had, as you said in the question, a lot of trouble throughout my life. The 70s and 80s were horrible for vets. We send our guys and women overseas with almost blatant disregard for their safety, and when they come home, we forget about them. I think if you are sent to fight for this country, you deserve a lot more than what we give our boys and our girls there. They should have free health care for life as we give them, but it should be world-class health care. It should cure disease. They should lead in healthcare experimentation as well, and new techniques. Thanks.
Next up, Mr. Bailey. Mental health and suicide prevention. Veteran suicide rates remain high. What federal policies should be strengthened or expanded to better support veterans' mental health?
Well, before we go on, my brother was a war hero. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. On July 12, 1969, his platoon leader was shot, and he took over, called in air support, ground support, spent the next 18 hours fighting hand-to-hand against the Viet Cong in the jungles of Vietnam. He is my hero, and I've dedicated my race to him. Well, number one, we have to make sure that we have strong mental health facilities available. Let's make it easier let's say that we have doctors that come out of school and they have a debt, in a school debt. Let's get them in the VA and have them sign a contract, and for the next 5 years, if they work in the VA office and they take care of vets, say it's 5 years, then their debt is wiped out. That would be one way to get qualified people back into the VA and back into giving service to our veterans. This is like I said, this is a very, very special subject to me, and this is a part of the communities that has been overlooked. I know the trouble that my brother had when he came back from Vietnam. The help he needed was simply not there. And we've got to make sure that we have some kind of incentives to keep qualified nurses and doctors in the VAs rather than losing them to the big city hospitals. And I think if we did that and we upped the level of medical care, I think that would go a long way in making sure that our veterans get the best quality health care that they can get. Let's make it easy for people to work at the VA.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Ms. Todd. Accountability at the VA. When veterans experience delayed care or denied benefits, what oversight responsibility does Congress have to hold the VA accountable?
First off, I know this process. I actually had to get my dad on the VA benefits, and the hoops and things that we had to jump through to be able to get those access is horrendous. Our veterans should not have to do that. They should automatically, with a clean discharge, be eligible for VA benefits. Accountability wise, the services that they provide, there's not enough providers to do that. We need our clinical social workers to help with the mental health. We need the physician's assistants. We need the nurse practitioners. We need additional people. We need mobile clinics to be able to go out to where the veterans are. In order to be able to do that, of course, we need the oversight, but we need people that knows what's going on. We need people that have been at the bedside. We need people who've been through the system to understand what needs are not being met. And that's what we have to do. We have to be able to take care of our veterans no matter what state they're in. And that's what one of my main goals is to do that. Be able to help provide services that my dad needed while we were waiting for him to be able to be on Medicare. We have to be able to give them those services, but we also have to make sure we keep things local. And I know Decatur has a VA clinic. There are certain areas that don't. They still have to drive an hour to a VA clinic. That's when we need the mobile clinics and to be able to reach out to everyone. So, and we need Congress to be able to hold the VA responsible to get those services done.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Wrapping up this topic will be Mr. Paul Davis. Transition to civilian life. What role should the federal government play in helping veterans transition into civilian jobs, education, and stable housing?
I think it's obviously financial support is the answer to a lot of things. Certainly training programs, whether it is college education, trade school, job training, just to get them prepared. And we'll fall back to mental health services, making sure that those things are readily available. This district has a shortage, as most places do, of mental health services, so we want ready access to that. But I think just primarily making sure we're funding appropriate job training, whether it be college education, trade schools, or other job training programs.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We're going to move on to education and workforce development. We will be starting with Mr. Randy Raley. Public education funding. How should the federal government support public K-12 education while respecting local control, especially in underfunded rural districts?
Well, number one, we've got to get rid of this voucher system. I don't understand how we can be sending government money to private schools. It doesn't seem right. I would think that when it comes to going to school, kindergarten through K-12, that students should have the right to have a hot lunch. They should have a right to have a breakfast. They should have a right to have quality teachers. I think once again, if we can find ways to, I know that there's a minimum wage for teachers, but it's far too low. Whatever it is, teachers should be paid along the lines of ICE agents, I would think, even more, but let's start there. So we've got to make sure that our schools are fully funded. We have to make sure that our kids have the mental health that they need to get through school. I know that I needed some mental health sometimes to get through school, and we want to make sure that those facilities are there. We have to make sure that our schools are safe. We have to make sure that our schools are up to date technology-wise. Make sure that our schools are at the top of the line when it comes to technology and computers and AI and all of that. We must make sure that our brightest go into teaching and continue that particular generational thing that I know that I was blessed with a lot of great teachers that sent me along the line of the path of my vocation that I spent. And so we've got to make sure that our schools are fully funded, that our teachers are well paid, that our schools are safe and secure. And most off, I think we have to start bringing back some of those subjects that haven't been taught in a while, and I believe that includes civics. So let's make sure our schools are our shining example of what this country can do when we combine the power of the federal government and our local communities. Let's make sure that we have the top schools in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Raley. Ms. Todd, community colleges and trade programs. What federal investments would you support to strengthen community colleges, apprenticeships, and trade programs that lead directly to local jobs?
First of all, not everyone wants to go to college. We have to be able to get them into trades, what they want to trades and what they want to do. Because we're always going to need plumbers, we're always going to need electricians, we're always going to need car mechanics. We're going to need each and every one of them, and we have to be able to have that path for them to go. Community college. I have my associate's degree, my nursing degree from a community college. That was how I was able to afford to do that. We have to continue to have our kids go there, even if it's just one class at a time, that make it affordable, and even make it free. We have to be able to get our kids what they deserve. And that just doesn't mean our kids are getting out of college, it means anyone. That's what our community colleges is for. You know, parents going back to school because they finally want to do something. They finally decided they needed to go back to school. Good for them. And we need to be able to continue that. But we need to be able to provide the services that they need to be able to go back to school, but still being able to provide for their family. And not having to have to pay tuition was one of the big things I would like. And those are things that are needed throughout the United States, but definitely here in the 15th. We have a lot of community colleges here that resources, we need to make sure they have them. And we need to continue to produce good students from those programs, which we already do, and to, make them be able to want to stay here in the area when they get their degree or they finish their apprenticeship.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Mr. Paul Davis, student debt and affordability. Student loan debt affects not only graduates, but entire families. What responsibility does Congress have in addressing college affordability and student debt?
I think we can look at several things. Number one, from the student loan end of things, if we just did things like decrease interest rates or try to expand loan forgiveness programs where we send professionals out to underserved areas and forgive that loan over time. Expanding access to Pell Grants would also be helpful. The other thing that's a little bit unconventional that I've got a little personal experience with, I certainly got a public education. My wife and I are both veterinarians. We have student loans out the wazoo, to say the least. But as we've been able to move on in life, one of the things that we can do is reach out to local businesses. We can certainly reach out to corporations. My wife and I have founded an endowed scholarship at the College of Veterinary Medicine in Champaign for veterinary students from Southern Illinois, and reaching out, trying to get private individuals to help with that, I think is good, and coming up with a program that helps all that. It's not just on everyone's tax dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Our next topic is going to be cost of living, everyday expenses. We're going to start with Ms. Jen Todd. Families in the district are struggling with rising costs for groceries, utilities, rent, and fuel. What specific federal policies would you support to lower everyday expenses, not just wages?
Well, the Supreme Court has helped a little bit, taking down the tariffs. But we have to make sure that comes to the position that we need to stop with those to be able to have the everyday products that come in that we need. There's a lot of things that we need to start buying local. We need to start buying from our farmers. We need to start buying from our bakers. We start buying our meat locally. But at what cost? Because they're losing the money also. So we have to be able to bring all that back to where we can make a living again. We need better jobs. We need better pay. So everything kind of goes around and round and round that we need to do. Is it going to be easy? No. We're going to have 7 years that's going to make up for this past year. And we just have to keep being resilient, and we just have to keep working towards getting what we need done, and to watch those prices go down. Make the corporations accountable. And those are things that we need to continue to do.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. I think the audience has fallen asleep on me, though. I skipped Mr. Nudo and nobody caught it. I am very sorry about that.
Do you have an education question for me?
I have both, actually, if you're up for it. Oh, actually, I do have an education question. Let's start there. I had your name on there and everything. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
Many young people feel that they must leave the district for opportunities. How can federal policy help create sustainable careers that allow people to stay and build lives here?
Well, that is a good question. I am effectively a poster child for what they call youth flight. When I mentioned how many states I've worked in, it's because I had to go where the money was. I got my degree here my bachelor's degree here in Decatur, and I immediately started working all over the country because in my field, the work that I needed to do to be able to make a living couldn't be found here, at least not at the level that I needed it to be, to have forward progression in my career. That is the truth for so many young people. Whether you're an engineer, the list is endless of what we don't provide for our local kids. If we're talking about federal money, well, it all goes back to the neglect that we all talk about with Mary Miller and the Republicans. If we are not investing in our local businesses, our small businesses, our manufacturing, if there are no jobs here, then the kids are going to fly somewhere else where they can make a living and have a career that they can be proud of and raise a family. I say that I'm running to restore the American dream and make it affordable, achievable, and attainable again. This is an incredibly multifaceted goal. For this district, there are countless ways that money alone and incentives will draw new business and new technologies to this area. I work in the entertainment field. I'm the only person in my family that's done that. And, I can tell you with the right kind of incentives, statewide, federal, there are businesses willing to come here in almost every industry. We just haven't been attracting them.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. All right, we are going to come back to Mr. Paul Davis on cost of living questions. Okay, housing affordability. What federal actions would you support to increase affordable housing availability in rural areas and small city districts like ours, where wages have not kept pace with housing costs?
I think certainly, number one, we need to get private equity out of the housing business. So that would be a good start. And then we certainly need to continue to expand access and funding, earmarking for low-income housing, so that we do have options for folks in the district. Those would be the two big things.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Kyle Nudo. Energy and utilities. Utility bills are rising across Illinois. Should Congress intervene in regulating utility pricing, grid modernization, or energy markets? And if so, how?
Well, we were talking earlier, some of the audience and I, about cost of living and cost of energy. If I had the magic wand, folks, one person, I would ban these data centers that are trying to gobble up parts of our state and our neighbors in other states as well. They ruin the water table. They jack up our prices for electricity costs. That would be a big one to begin with. I think there should be a moratorium at the federal level until we understand what AI is doing to our country. In my industry, AI is taking many trades, jobs away from them. Anything with technology. What we're being sold by the AI robber barons out there, they're trying to fast track it all, shove it down our throats, and make it too late, too soon. We need to protect ourselves in that regard as well. This goes directly back to energy costs. I also am a sort of eco-green person. I have driven 3 different EVs in my lifetime. For me, I see that energy collection and generation at the individual level, at your home, is far too costly, and in many places, next to illegal. You're not allowed in many places to collect water. Even if you're going to use it for gray water, you're almost it's ineffective to have solar panels on your roof. There are plans out there, these shysters out there that will come to you and say it'll take 30 years for you to pay off your investment. That's wrong. That should be affordable and effective. You should be able to collect wind energy at your home. That's illegal in many places. And that's also big tech that is stopping that. We should be able on every farm to have and every business, small wind energy collectors. Why we're not doing that, folks? Well, it's big business. And the federal government should be doing a lot more to protect you, the average voter.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Wrapping up this section will be Mr. Randy Bailey. Tax burden on working families. Do you believe the current federal tax structure places a fair burden on working and middle-class families? What changes would you support to ease cost pressures without increasing the deficit?
Back when we were building things, when we were going to the moon, and we were building interstates and all of that, the top tax rate for the wealthy was 70%. It's now 35%. What I would do with some of that money is Gavin Newsom has an interesting idea about charging a billionaire tax, and I would like to do a little bit more study on it, but at first glance it sounds pretty good to me. I'd like to take that tax rate and up it by 5% or so, and take some of that money and see if we can get homeless veterans off the street, maybe give them living quarters and mental health facilities, and put them into trades and teach them how to be carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and send them into rural America and make it a financial goodwill to them. That again, if you stay in rural America for 5 years, we'll take away your debt. But the tax structure is absolutely skewered to the oligarchs, to the rich, to the people that pay off the president and the administration to make sure that their tax rates don't go up. So again, we need to, I think we need to have some kind of a congressional oversight committee to just take a look at how these taxes are shoved, and make sure that the people who need to pay the people who have the wherewithal to pay their taxes are making it fair for the rest of us. Once again, I think we need to move that high tax rate up. I think we need to start closing corporate loopholes, And the only way that we're going to do that is if we take back Congress. I also believe that Citizens United is one of the worst things that's ever happened to us, because those people who can afford to contribute through Citizens United are usually the rich and the powerful who end up getting all of the benefits.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Because we got started a few minutes late, I'm gonna squeeze in one more category and then we'll have a break, if that's okay. All right, democracy, representation, and ethics. Looks like we're back at you, Mr. Davis. Constituent access. What does meaningful representation look like to you, and how often should constituents expect direct engagement, such as town halls or public forums?
Every opportunity that we can, for sure. I think everyone deserves an answer. I am your direct connection to Washington, D.C. So you deserve, you may not agree with everything I do, but you should have free and frequent access to me to express that, and the communication line should stay open. So my answer would be absolutely every opportunity that I could. I would try to either be in front of you or certainly respond to phone calls, texts, emails, you name it.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Nuno, ethics and accountability. Beyond stock trading, what ethics reforms, if any, are needed to restore public trust in Congress?
Well, boy, we talk about trust a lot with my campaign. The lack or loss of trust is one of the reasons why there are so many people in this district that just don't vote. They've just unplugged completely. Over half of the people that are eligible to vote here in the 15th don't care to vote. Those folks need to be engaged. Those folks need to know that they can trust their elected officials. There are so many people that don't trust either side. They say that both sides are the same. And I'm looking out here at a lot of good and great Democrats in this room. And I think all of you know there's a big difference between the Democratic Party and the Republicans. We need to prove that every day. And in terms of what can Congress do? Well, number one, and I don't believe that we should have stock trading. Insider knowledge, insider trading is already illegal, but we've got too many loopholes, too many ways for our politicians to take money from the decisions that they make. All you have to do is look at the grifter in chief. Look at his greed, look at his bribes. This all adds to the lack of trust in our country, the lack of trust in our government. We have to earn that back. We have to prove that we're trustworthy. We have to prove that we're ethical. I also believe that we could go a long way from Congress in forcing, through legislation, the Supreme Court to have an ethics guide that has teeth to it. If we were to pass legislation that has term limits, if we were to have legislation that passes for the Supreme Court that has age limits, I think that that would restore a lot of trust back in government for the average voter.
Thank you, Mr. Nuno. Mr. Rayleigh, use of congressional power. How do you view the balance between How do you view the balance between representing your district and voting along party lines when the two conflict?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for asking it. It would be, what do my constituents want? This congressional district doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the people who make up the 15th. And even if you don't love like me, or look like me, or pray like me, or vote like me, I plan on representing you. When it comes to party lines, I think that if it's good for the district, then it's good for me, and it's good for the party. I think that sometimes we get wrapped up in party lines and we don't want to rock the boat. I'm sorry, I'm not that guy. I'm going to be a guy that takes your concerns, that takes your struggles, takes the things that are important to you, not the party. Now, the party didn't elect me to be the representative from the 15th. It is the voters of this district. So I have no problem being the odd guy out if it is beneficial to my district. In fact, you know what? I would be proud to be the odd guy out if it's beneficial to my district. That will foster trust between my representation and what you need as a member of the 15th Congressional District.
Mr. Bailey. Closing out this section, Ms. Jim Todd, restoring public trust. Public confidence in the Congress is low. What concrete actions would you take to demonstrate accountability and transparency to voters in this district?
First of all, you need to show up. You need to be where the voters are. You need to make sure you're getting out, having your town halls, having even Zooms that are for local people. You need to be able to get out and meet people. That's the most important thing, and that's, of course, what's not happening now. Just to be able to make sure that everyone knows they have a voice, and their voice needs to be heard, and it will be heard. This is a huge 35 county district, and we have to be able to hear every single one, all the way from Warren County up by the Quad Cities, all the way down to Christian County. Everyone deserves to be heard. That's the reason why my plan is to break this county up, this district up into zones, where you have 5 to 7 counties per zone, where you have one email address and one phone number that one person is going to be manning, and that you will receive answers between 24 and 48 hours. That even just saying, we hear you, we understand, and let's look into it. Just to be acknowledged that you sent something in, and you're not getting rude phone calls back or rude people who answer the phone. That's how you gain back trust, is showing up and being there and listening.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. And just so everyone knows, Congress are on recess right now, so Mary Miller is in district, just refusing to meet, just so you guys know.
I'm shocked.
I know, shocking, but I have to be the bearer of bad news, guys. All right, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break, let the candidates, catch their breath. Okay, before we move into questions directly from the audience, the candidates each have a couple of minutes to clarify any points, distinguish themselves from other candidates. So we're gonna allow them that time now, and then we'll move into audience questions. We're gonna start first with Mr. Paul Davis.
Probably the biggest thing I want to bring across to folks and what my most aspirational goal would be in Washington, D.C. would be to try to, in the broadest sense, address the affordability crisis. And there are obviously lots of things you could do for that. But to me, the number one thing we could do would be to advocate for Medicare for all. And the amount of money that would save not only our nation, but each individual family, even if it did increase taxes, it would overall, I think, save the nation, depending on the statistics you look at, up to 40% of our healthcare costs if we went to a single payer system like we have in other countries. And the reason I say Medicare for all is we're already doing that. So I think we can work on expanding that. While it's not perfect, it does work and it's a good place to start. So that to me would be my biggest goal going to Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Well, hi folks. Are we off again? What's going on, guys? Hi, again, Kyle Nudo. For me, it's the wage floor. For 50, 60 years, we have devalued labor. We have devalued the effectiveness of the single income. People can't afford their houses on 2, 3, 4, 5 incomes. I talk to people when I go door to door all the time that their kids never left. They not only have the nest is not empty, but their friends have come in too in order for them to afford their home, afford their life. That's not healthy for us as a community. As a labor activist, I have led national labor and wage initiatives that have delivered over 2 million in the very first year after I did an initiative in 2013 called Reimagine. That initiative, as I say, 2 million in just 1 year. In terms of that, my members, my sisters and brothers are still enjoying that today. That was over a decade ago. And this is, a lot of it is just enforcement of laws like our wage theft and our misclassification. Some of the work that I've been able to do and get new legislation, new language passed at the state level, that language has found its way into the PRO Act. Does anybody here, our labor guys, know about the PRO Act? Right. If you were to pass the PRO Act today, which our good Dems are trying to do and have been trying to do, and seeing a hell of a lot of resistance from the Republicans and big business, the PRO Act would effectively end right to work. That would begin to raise our wage floor. Our minimum wage, if it stayed on track with American productivity like it once was in 1973, diverged. A lot of that was manufacturing automation. If we let AI take over, think about how bad that's going to be not only for blue, but also white collar workers. If our minimum wage, our wage floor had stayed on track, it would be $68 an hour today. Now, I know we talk about 15 and I know we talk about 20, and a lot of states only pay $7.25. If you're a tipped worker, it's even worse than that. These are slave wages. I'm not afraid to say that. If it were commensurate with our productivity, the money that the big businesses make, the conglomerates, the monopoly powers, you could work at Taco Bell 40 hours a week and you could afford a 5-bedroom house almost anywhere in the state. Imagine. The average fast food worker is female, has multiple children, is living in a 1-bedroom apartment that she rents, and that's because our minimum wage is terrible. The minimum wage, if it were to be a commensurate wage, that raises union wages. That raises the prevailing wage. the leverage that we as workers wouldn't need to exert. We talk about single payer a lot. If we were, not just the ethics of it, guys, but the logic of it. If you are golden handcuffed to a compensation package that means you can't have the leverage to raise your own wage, whether it's you negotiating for a better wage or collective bargaining. So I do want to make sure that people think about that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nudo. Mr. Bailey?
Well, when we're talking about what we bring back to the 15th district, I've already put in the work. I am building coalitions around the district, starting off with farmers, believe it or not. I've been to 4 or 5 different farm bureaus, and you want to talk about walking into the belly of the beast, I can tell you that right now because you know who they voted for. The conversation starts with me asking them, when was the last time a politician asked your opinion about anything? And that usually brings the guard down a little bit. And the thing that I'm finding out, a big problem with farmers is big ag. There's no competition. You take your cattle to 3 or 4 places, you get your grain processed 3 or 4 places, you get your seed 3 or 4 places, there's no competition. So then I point out to them, well, guess who's taking money from big ag? It is your representative who's supposed to be representing you. So let me get this straight. Our representative is taking money from the companies that have made billions off your back. And you know what? They start listening. I'm also building coalitions with educators. Had a great conversation with the regional superintendent for Madison County Schools. He's a Republican. And we sat, had a 2-hour conversation, and we agreed about 85% of the time. And as a matter of fact, as I left, he said, I will spread your good name around my neighborhood. I'm in coalitions with truck drivers. One of the things that truck drivers need are more rest areas. Have you been by rest areas at 7 o'clock at night? They're all full. And now truckers have to park along the side of the roads, and that's not very safe either. I've had great conversations in building coalitions with small town mayors. One of the things that's easy to fix, the mayor of Palmer, he needs a tornado siren. The mayor of Warden, she needs a tornado siren. Those are $8,000 a piece. That's easy peasy. But the thing that I'm finding throughout the district is the lack of mental health facilities. The mayor of Warden was telling me the other day about a gentleman who has had mental health problems all of his life, set himself on fire in front of the firehouse. Now, not only is that traumatic for him, but think about those firefighters who discovered that body. They need mental health too. I've had conversations with chambers of commerce. Talked to a small business guy. He said, what can you do for me? And I said, well, number one, let's get rid of that FICA tax that you have to pay and lift the cap so we can make Social Security solvent. You don't have to be in the Social Security business, and let's go for a single payer health plan. You don't have to be in the insurance business. So I've been talking to unions too. I've been talking to unions in Savoy and Champaign and Edwardsville and Collinsville. Just found out from the union people in Champaign, a big contract was canceled on Interstate 57 due to Donald Trump's diversity clause. And so I'm out there, I'm getting information, I've already put in the work, so I really know what this district needs by building those coalitions. Again, I've been out there and doing the work, and so I feel that I'm ready to go when it comes to what this district needs, because like I said, I've already put in the work, I put together these coalitions, and I'm out there every day just trying to get information on what I can do to serve my constituents much more efficiently and much more, shall we say, smartly too.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Finally, Ms. Jen Todd.
For the past 13 months, I've been out driving around this district, listening to people, what their issues are, and trying to figure out what all needs to be done besides everything. Main issues are infrastructure. We need better sewer systems. We need new water treatment plants. We need new water towers. We need tornado sirens. These are things that the community project funding can help with. That's what we pay our taxes for. And then is the decimation of our soon-to-be healthcare in this area. We have to be able to take care of ourselves and take care of our loved ones. We need facilities to be able to do that. We need the mental health facilities. We need the nurses. We need the doctors. Those are the issues that we have to look at. We need to look exactly what is happening here in the 15th and go from there. You know, national and international issues are, yes, they're important, but nothing is more important than what happens here in the 15th. And you have to be able to do that. And that's what my biggest promise is that the 15th will always come first, and the needs outweigh more than anything else of the 15th. And I've been lucky enough to be endorsed by the IFT, the teachers union, and by the Justice Coalition. And so I'm very proud of those endorsements, and that what I'm here to do is for you and not for me. So.
Thank you, Ms. Jim Todd. We're now going to start with audience questions. If you have a question, Clayton will be so kind as to come around and assist you. You want to start raising your hands? Don't be shy now. Hang on 1 second. I just want to make sure they know the rules. You all can have a chance to address the question. It's going to be asked to everyone, okay?
Yes, this is a question for each of you. It's a yes or no question. Regardless of who is nominated, will you support the nomination?
Yes.
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 Well, thank you all for coming. Anyone else? Don't be shy. This is your time to ask your possible representative your questions. What matters to you?
Hello. I think Paul should probably start with this because I tipped him off during the break. I've been rehearsing in my notes. My name is Michael Feltus. I was born and raised in live here in Decatur. I believe Congress has lost its democratic legitimacy. There are several reasons for that. One of the most important is gerrymandering. Any electoral system in which politicians are picking voters rather than voters are picking politicians will sooner or later lose its legitimacy. People will perceive the game as being rigged because it is rigged. The best response is to try to change the rules of the game, but I can't blame anyone for wanting to spend their time on something more productive than this game. You know that if you win the Democratic nomination, you will have an uphill battle. And gerrymandering is now taking on the characteristics of an arms race. Texas is doing it, California is responding. Arms races lead to escalation. So, what are the structural reforms that you believe are necessary for Congress to truly represent the people rather than the interests of the wealthy and powerful? And how do you think they can be enacted?
Number one, we support and advocate for independent redistricting nationally. The other thing is getting rid of Citizens United. I think we did those two things. It would make a big difference toward restoring trust in Congress.
I would agree. Unfortunately, we have states have the right to, run their own elections, set up exactly how they're done. I personally have been an election judge for my polling precinct since 2004. And so I've run a few elections. I was there in 2008, I was 2016, some pretty wild and fun times. Running an election is incredibly patriotic. At the same time, I think that, as Paul said, independent commissions are the only way to truly break apart gerrymandering. And while the U.S. House doesn't have the right to impose such a law, right, we certainly can advocate and engender that to our constituents that that's our preference. There's a lot of ways through media that we can express that, and we can do a lot with our local partners and coalitions here on the state level. In addition to that, yes, Citizens United needs to end. And in addition to that, there's a law that's 50 years old that was passed and approved by the Supreme Court that says money is speech, right? We had that
Public
long
input.
before, that's right, long before Citizens United. And because we don't have a Supreme Court that represents the people anymore, I believe that the Supreme Court needs to be expanded. The number that I hear most often that would be commensurate with the population that we've had, because you probably know this, that we've expanded and contracted the Supreme Court over time. I mentioned earlier that we should have age caps, but I also think that we should move to the new number, which I believe is 13.
Mr. Ring.
I think this is, when it comes to gerrymandering, this AI thing is probably its best usage. Give me districts that are equally divided by population and area and put it in there. Number two, we've got to blow up the Electoral College. It has far past its youth. We've got to get money out of politics. We've got to get Citizens United out of politics. But I think that if we make sure that our districts are well represented, you know what? In this 13th or in this 15th district, we have nobody to blame but the Democrats. They did this. They were the ones who gerrymandered this, and so this is one of the things that we have to live with. I think gerrymandering should be done once every 10 years to reflect the population. And again, I think this might be one of the cases that AI works, because you've got to make it equal for everybody. You have to have the same certain population in each one of the districts, and they should be somewhat square, trapezoid, circle, something like that, not the Chinese fortune cookie that we have in the 15th district now. So let's put AI to work on that. Let's blow up the Electoral College, make sure it's one vote, and make sure that the winner of the national election wins the popular vote.
What they said.
You can start the next question, Ms. Bell.
I can finish this one. Gerrymandering needs to go. Just pretty much flat, simple, it needs to go. We need to be able to divide the area up by population. And it doesn't matter what number of voters there are in that area, it needs to be by population. Same thing with, we need to have our elected officials by the popular vote. That's the true voice of the citizens, is the popular vote. And that's what we have to stick with.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. The next.
Hello, my name is Ralph Serwinski. I'm a retired educator. After listening to you, all four of you, I'm sure you would do a wonderful job of representing our 15th district.
Thank you.
But what I want to know is, what can you do to defeat the current occupant of that position? You have a unique skill, characteristics, you have a plan.
Yes.
What you would do if you become the nominee.
I'll go first. Here's what we do, guys. We've got to reach out to our neighbors with empathy and sympathy, respect and hope. And what I mean by that is that each family in this district is only worried about one thing, and that is the survival of their family. And when we break it down to there, we find common ground. We have, there's going to be 30% of the people in this district, they're not going to pay any attention to us because they're MAGA and they're going to walk off the cliff like good little lemmings, right? But there were 240,000 people that did not vote in this district during the last election. 240,000 people did not vote. So we can reach out to our neighbors with, and I get it. You say, well, farmers get what they deserve because they voted for Trump 3 times. No, we can't do that. If your neighbor's house burns down, you don't throw rocks at him, you try to build it back up. So again, let's approach our neighbor with sympathy, empathy, respect, and hope, and say, you know what? He said he was going to lower your grocery prices, said he was going to cut your electricity bill in half, said he was going to release the Epstein files, said he was going to end the war in Ukraine in one day. How's the price of hamburger? What did your electric rates really do? How is it now less affordable for you to live than it was before then? And then we say, you know what? We've got a better idea. We don't want you kicked off SNAP. We don't want to close this hospital. We don't want to close this nursing home. We don't want to make, to kick you off Medicaid. We've got a better way. We want to save those programs for you. And if we can get the independent voters, by the way, I've just been endorsed by the League of Independent Voters. If we can get a good, sorry.
First time I had to cut you off.
Won't be the last.
Ms. Jen Todd.
Showing up. Actually showing up to where everyone is at. She doesn't show up. You have to be able to look people in the eye. You have to be able to listen. You have to have the empathy. You have to have the understanding. I've been where a lot of people have already been at. I've been on Medicaid. I've been on SNAP benefits. I've been on unemployment. I understand the struggles. And that there's someone out there that's just like they are, just like you are, that understands what's going on. And we have to be able to continue to raise up the district. We need to bring that money back to the infrastructure, which will bring more jobs back. We need to be able to do those things. And in order to do that, we have to have a new member of Congress. And that's our goal, is a new member of Congress that's going to actually care about the 15th and do things for the 15th that need to be done.
Mr. Davis.
I think the first thing, we obviously have to have a good ground game, and we have to be different. It's not hard to be different than our current representative if we do show up, like Jen said. And we have to meet people where they are, and we have to listen first. We're not going to win voters by preaching to people that disagree with us. We're going to have to listen to them and try to relate to them. I mentioned in my opening, I'm a bass fisherman. My vast political experience has been as the vice president of my bass club. I don't know how many bass fishermen you guys know, but there are not a whole lot of Democrats that are bass fishermen. But I do find that we share a lot of issues in common, far more things unite us than divide us. So I think focusing on those things and building that trust and relationship that way is how it all started.
Mr. Davis.
Well, first of all, folks, it's, as folks have said already, it's shoe leather politics. You have to get out there, boots on the ground, knocking doors, organizing people, getting people enthusiastic, excited about voting. You don't always know why they don't vote, but you have a good idea, if they're not enthusiastic about it, why they choose not to vote. I personally see voting as, a civic duty, but a lot of people don't, especially on the right. I was having a conversation over in Homer, Illinois with a Republican woman, and she was saying, no, it's a privilege. And okay, she might be right about that too, but it's a constitutional one. It's our right under the Constitution. And, those are some of the differences you're going to have to encounter. When I say you folks, I mean you here in this room. As a labor organizer, I'm here to organize you, and I want to make sure that you too are excited about your choice, making sure that you get out there with your thumbs and your feet and texting and knocking doors and making phone calls and sending emails and explaining why you are enthusiastic. But more than that, folks, you have to be patriotic. Don't let them take that from you. Don't let them take your faith from you, your faith in government. If you are enthusiastic, it will be, I guess I'm done. That's good. I saw her trying.
No.
Let me just say one last thing. I'm a fundraiser for a living. So unfortunately, these things take a lot of money. Mary Miller, when I talk to JB's office, they don't consider her a good fundraiser. I can tell you one thing. I'm a good fundraiser. I've run 5 501c3 charities in my life, and now in the commercial sector, I raise millions for projects. Raising money is what I do, organizing is what I do, and I can't wait to do it for you guys.
Thank you. I have a question that was already submitted from Shelley S. I'll read. How do the candidates feel about community action agencies? programs including Head Start, CSBG, and LIHEAP. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or if that's a word. Sorry, LIHEAP and LIHEAP. Are they committed to funding these vital programs?
Who's first? How about just yes?
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think we need to take care of our children, certainly much more than we need to take care of Argentina or anything else along that line. And this is the thing that upsets me more as I get older and older, is how that we have failed our children when it comes to Head Start, when it comes to those programs that make sure that they're healthy and moving along. And I think that is one of the real problems I have with this administration right now, is that we have money for everything else in the world, but we don't have money for our own kids. It just breaks my heart. And that's one of the things that I will be leading the charge. I will plant my flag on that hill to make sure that all of these programs are funded in the way that they're supposed to be funded, and maybe even more. Like I said, we can sure spend our money on everything else, and now we're going to go to war with Iran. Are you kidding me? We've got kids that are hungry. Let's take care of those first. You want to talk about America first? Well, let's start proving it right now. Let's fund those programs. Let those get those kids healthy and educated and on to a productive life.
Yes, we need to fund those projects. We need to fund them wholeheartedly. Head Start is a wonderful program. It allows parents to actually go back to work. The kids are getting educated and they're getting fed nice warm meals. We need to continue doing that. We also need to continue to be able to support our seniors, make sure they have heat in the winter and air conditioning in the summer. Those are the programs that we all need to rally around. Because they're wanting to get rid of all of our social programs. Well, that's what we're made about, is social programs. We help each other when it's needed. And that's what we are going to continue to do. You know, a lot of people don't quite understand that. So these social programs, Medicaid, actually helps in our public school systems. That, how do you think the nurses that mandated by the state of Illinois get paid? They get paid through Medicaid. Same thing with the counselors and the therapists. And we need to make sure we have our Title I programs and our Title IX programs to be able to keep our kids healthy and active in school. And those are the issues that we have to continue to do.
Mr. Hicks?
A little bit in my genes, I think government-based responsibility is to serve as a backdrop, a safety net for all of its citizens. My mother was the executive director for a food pantry for over 30 years. So I think we absolutely have to fully fund those programs. They not only support low-income folks, they support working class folks as well. So I think it's important that we do fund those fully.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next audience question.
Hello. Okay, so this question is a little more further out per se, but so millennials, Gen Z, and even some Gen X in Illinois are struggling to buy their first homes due to rising house prices, property taxes, student loan debt, and so on, including limited inventory. So at this time, experts are already warning over the next 15 to 20 years as baby boomers pass on, there's going to be a housing overage. So what are your policies going to look like in the meantime as we progress towards looking forward, per se?
Anybody want to start?
I'll start.
Sure.
Right now, yes, there is a housing shortage right now. But we have to be able to fix our infrastructure, and some of the homes that are going to be vacated coming up are close to 100 years old. That we have to be able to have the ability to fix those homes so they can continue on to the next generation and the next generation. You know, we still have lead pipes, cast iron pipes, clay pipes in a lot of the areas, and even here in Decatur, that have to be fixed. And how is that done? Through the community project funding. We have to be able to have that money to be able to do that, to be able to keep up with the times. Make sure we have the ability to not recycle those homes. But we also have to be able to afford and be able to have starter homes again.
Thank you, Ms. Todd.
Sorry, it went off. Just very quiet.
Okay, sorry. I promise I'm not lying. Go ahead, Mr. Rayleigh.
I'll take a shot at that. When I started my speech here, I said that I'm not running for myself. I'm running for your generation because we've left you with a mess. There's no question about it. You can't afford to go to school. You can't afford to buy your groceries. You can't afford housing and all of that kind of stuff. One of the first things I would do is that I would put together maybe a grant or a no interest loan for somebody who's just starting out, somebody who is, starting their first home. Another idea I had when I talked about, and it's still a concept of a plan, okay? I'm still working on it. But I'd like to take some of that money that these rich people don't need and like I talked about before, let's see if we can get homeless veterans off the street. Let's see if we can house them, get them mental health, the help they need, and get them into trades and then put them to work in rural communities, building homes that you can afford. Not McMansions, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about good quality starter homes that people coming out of college or just starting the workforce can afford. Let's make financial incentives to your generation that allows you to get into a house with, you don't need 20% down or something like that. But I would like to apologize to your generation, my friend, because we've kind of messed it up for you. And I would like an opportunity in my own small way to try to fix that for you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I guess I can go. We need to really, this is something that Congress can do. Pass a law or a multi-pronged law that addresses qualified investors. The ultra rich, your Elon Musk's of the world, if you're following that, they don't have to put down collateral. They don't have to point to any sort of income. You know, they own multiple properties. They can get a loan, no problem. The qualified investor. So soon.
We won't get through many questions.
In any case, so for a certain class of people, they have no problem getting a loan. That should be a little harder, I think. They should have the same hardship that you and I do. The average person who is not a qualified investor with millions, the current Freddie and Fannie Mae laws make it incredibly tough for someone on a median income to buy a house. If they've got that down payment, if they're paying rent at $2,000-3,000 a month, they could afford it, but not according to the laws, not according to the strictures. That is a thing that Congress can do like that. That's an easy law to pass. I think there's even probably bipartisan support on it. But the banking lobbies have a big issue with Congress doing those sorts of things, don't they? Because they want to extract from us and let the ultra rich do whatever the hell they want. That's something that I advocate for now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And finally, Mr. Davis.
All right, I'll make it short and sweet. We certainly, again, need to get private equity out of the home owning business. We also can expand the first-time homeowners programs and loans. And in addition to that, I'll echo back to Jennifer's comment on infrastructure improvement. You drive through a lot of these small towns in the districts and things are falling apart and vacated already. So we need to improve that infrastructure and take care of those dilapidated buildings.
Mr. Davis. Our next audience question.
I'm going to do one real quick and then we'll pass it on to the next person here. Sorry, over here.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Okay. Sorry, my name's Adam. I'm from Decatur here. I'll introduce myself at length here in a little bit. I have always been interested in environmental policies. I'm really concerned about the environment. It's been something that I've been concerned about, honestly, since I was little bitty and young.
in the Trump years here, you know, it kind of like environmentalism is not something to care too much about when the basic pillars of democracy are falling apart, and that has just become an issue that, you know, I care about deeply, but not something that seems urgent and, you know, urgent for this very moment. However, we are on the cusp of technology changing the way the whole entire world works, namely with AI. I work in IT. I understand the importance of technology in our lives, you know, and to continue to innovate, because let's face it, if we don't innovate, China's going to innovate around us. So it is important that we continue to innovate while we still have to look at environmental policies. I'll briefly give a couple examples. So here in Decatur, we have our city council has approved Broadwing Energy to build a power plant in collaboration with ADM and Google here in Decatur. It is going to use vast amounts of water that we do not have the resiliency for drought tolerance. The city council is actually, this is the next item on their agenda. The couple meetings after, they just approved Broadwing to use more water out of our lakes. Not only that, they're wanting to do carbon sequestration, pumping carbon, CO2 underneath our lake, our main source of drinking water for the city. They use vast amounts of energy, and the noise that's emitted from data centers in particular has recorded health consequences on the people that live next to these data centers. We're talking about everything from dizziness to nauseous and all kinds of other horrible side effects. What we have to do something to like slow down corporations from just this unending, you know, this unending path to make as much money as they possibly humanly can, no matter the cost to our water, our air, and all of the other things that they're depleting in resources. Again, I mentioned the one here in Decatur, but Springfield is currently fighting against a data center being built in Springfield. We all know that our other communities in the area are going to be, you know, fighting the same thing. So what are your ideas, while not completely stifling technology, you know, innovations? What do you think should be done to make sure that we protect our Earth while we build out these things, our Earth and our people that rely on the resources that the Earth provides?
Well, that's what you get when you get big money in politics, my friends. These people think that they own the world. Number one, we need to double and triple our efforts when it comes to solar and wind power. We need to be smart about this. I don't know why we're not building solar panels on top of parking lots and buildings and all of that, all the places like that. And if a farmer would like to have that on his particular ground, that's okay, but I think we're kind of using up valuable farmland. I think this administration is the most backward administration when it comes to this that has ever been in this country, because of money in politics and Citizens United, and the grifter in chief keeps lining his pockets with the money that big oil gives him. And we have, like I said, got to get that money out of there, but we need to redouble and re-triple our commitment to solar power, to wind power, to hydrothermal power, and all of that. And I think that we're starting to see now a little bit of a changing of the tide when it comes to these data centers. I'm reading now that more towns are rejecting them than accepting them. And I think finally we're figuring out that this is not good for any part of the planet. It's not good for the people around it. Now, granted, good union jobs when it comes to building them, but after that, those jobs go away. So my plan, if I'm in Congress, is to make sure that we are redoubling, re-tripling our commitment to the power that the Earth gives us naturally.
If I may. I said something about this earlier. The techno barons that you're talking about, the Sam Altmans and the Peter Thiels and all of those folks running ChatGPT and all the other things. Yeah. I think you have to remember that they are shoving us onto this speeding train for a reason. They are gobbling up and grabbing as much money from the government that they can and as fast as they can because they know that it's going to bust at some point. We had this happen in the early 2000s and late 1990s. Remember the dot-com boom? Remember when in 2008 the real estate boom exploded? We're still suffering from those, well, from the real estate explosion. Now, the Great Recession is still around us. In Illinois, there's a lot of problems that we might as well be in a recession again. As far as, and I said this as well before, as far as these mega data centers, I would see them banned in Illinois. I would see a moratorium. Because we don't know how fast this is going, we don't know where it's going, we need to really study this a lot more. You're right to worry about China and other countries stealing our tech. They have a long history of that. But that's why we need to have better government that can actually partner with these countries and work out better deals and better treaties with these countries and actually put teeth into them so that we can prevent our tech from being stolen, so that they don't take our patents. And if they do, then there are repercussions from it. And we have a coalition of other governments, the EU, for example, that would stand with America. We can't enjoy that right now, can we? The way that we're mistreating and abusing our treaty partners globally. This is also why Peter Thiel and Sam Altman have the fast track. They're on the inside lane of all of this other chaos and disruption. It's purposeful. I said at another event just last night that the cruelty is on purpose, right? So Congress needs to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We need brass knuckles, and we need to be able to stand up for our constituents.
But I do agree we probably should have a moratorium on new data centers until we get some things squared away. We can absolutely, in Congress, work on legislation that would make any data center produce its own or recycle its own water, produce more electricity, produce their own electricity, improve the power grid in the area where they are starting these centers. So I think those are some at least reasonable things we could think about or work on. But we need substantial studies and actual evidence-based studies on what they're going to do to communities rather than ready, fire, aim. We need to be a little bit more structured with this.
We need to bring back the EPA for what the EPA is supposed to do. And that's one of the main things that we need to do. And like Paul said, we need to help hold these companies to higher standards. They need to be able to produce their own energy. They need to be able to recycle their own water. They need to be able to cut the noise down. When they're not doing that, that's hurting us, it's hurting the earth, and we don't need that. We've done enough damage to the earth as it is right now, and we're trying to make it better. And we need to continue to do that process with more solar, more turbines, and to be able to give the energy that we need and not have to rely on fossil fuels.
I'd just like to add one thing. Our current representative doesn't believe in climate change because God tells the sun what to do. Direct quote.
All right, we'll take a few more questions from the audience and we'll wrap up. Sorry, we're running a little over.
Hello. Going back to immigration in one aspect, I believe the underpinning of immigration is the latent and blatant racism that still exists in our country. And I don't feel that at a congressional level that that's really addressed. It's been shown statistically and evidentially that immigrants do bring a lot of income into our country, and they are good workers and they are good spenders, despite not having the free everything that Republicans think that they have. So what are you, each of you, what's your thought on addressing that greater issue of racism, and specifically with Democrats and working to defeat Mary Miller and working in conjunction with people of minorities in the Democratic Party, and getting us to be working more collaboratively with them instead of seemingly on their own?
We need to raise people up, not shoot them down. And that's what we have to do. Racism, no matter what it is not right. You know, your life is not better than mine, and mine's not better than yours. And we're all equal. Doesn't matter what color our skin is, or who we love, or what religion we are. We're still all humans, and we need to act like that. And right now, we're not doing that. This administration is not doing that. And that's where we have to stop things there. We need, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Do we need maybe new amendment about racism, that everyone is equal? We have to be able to do that, and we have to stop this. And it's just, we have to stop what's been ingrained into our minds since we have been growing up. And that's going to be a tough bill to do, but it has to be done.
This has been a racist country for a long time. I don't refer since the founding and even before. And I don't know what Congress can do about something like that. I can tell you that when we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, the last 6 words are with liberty and justice for all. And that's not happening. Now, you know that as well as I do. All I can tell you is that I think when we have more people under our tent with diverse opinions, diverse backgrounds, it makes us stronger. I can tell you a little personal anecdote about myself. I spent 5 years on a farm in southern Missouri, okay? The home of the militias down there. And then it's funny, when I was 15, I moved to a high school that had 800 in my graduating class, and 30% of those kids did not look like me. Funny thing about it, coming from the farm in southern Missouri, I soon fell in love with one of those kids that didn't look like me. You know what I mean? You have to be carefully taught. I think we need to start at a very early age. I think we need to teach our kids how to play together, how to work together. I think we need to find a better path to citizenship. I think we need to find a faster way to document these workers in the fields. As you know, they pay taxes. They add so much to our country when it comes to financial, when it comes to anything. They add to our country. They don't take away. But the other side must find a boogeyman. They've got to find somebody that we're scared of. And then they make things scary, and now it happens to be immigrants. And the things that have happened in Minnesota, Donald Trump, when he was running for president, said he could shoot somebody in the street, he wouldn't lose any supporters. Well, he shot 2 people in the street. And so I believe that this problem is so big, and it has been pervasive for so long, it's going to take a long time for us to change the way we feel about our fellow man. And if it were up to me, I'd, pass a law or something like that. But we have got to start teaching our children better. We have got to start reaching out to our friends and neighbors. And again, when it comes to working in Congress, I work with anybody to solve that problem. Anybody. But as we know, it's going to take a long time because we haven't got rid of it yet.
As Randy said, we have a very long history of racism in this country. As I mentioned before, I have an Italian last name. Can't you tell? Right. My great-grandfather immigrated here from Sicily, and you know, I could list a long list of the names that he endured in Chicago. We see a bit of a pendulum, don't we? You know, or seesaw. It comes, it goes. We pass a law, and then it gets turned over. Our society comes and goes, back and forth. We're in one of those other polar sides right now. I can tell you that there is hope. I see it every day when I knock doors. I see it when I hear from people that say the same thing that you're saying right now. In terms of organizing and getting people out and motivated and enthusiastic about voting, sometimes it's a sad story and not a happy story that gets people boots on the ground and motivated to vote. Those are those pendulum swings. For me, because you're right, you know, you can't force things on people. But what I see from the right wing, and I've seen this a lot personally, you know, I've worked all over the country. I've worked with the widest, most diverse group of viewpoints and people. At one point I was working in Alabama, and a large group of people in the project that I was working on were adults and children that lived sort of on a compound, and they were homeschooling their kids. And that was very interesting to me because it was my first direct, real, you know, in-depth experience with that. And what I feel deeply is that charter schools and taking money from our public schools, taking yours and my tax dollars away from our public schools, I've seen it since Reagan. I was in high school during Reagan. You could almost witness them dismantling the education I was getting as you walk the halls. I can tell you, and this is the small bit of hope, is that when we fully fund public education and we empower the public schools and we make education a public good, not just to grade 12, if we were to go the way of Medicare for all with healthcare, we could and should go that same direction with the public good of education. Go way beyond that. Fund it fully so that kids do need to connect with each other instead of being on enclaves and compounds.
I think it starts with trying to create a sense of community, and the prejudice is a learned behavior. Kids aren't born prejudiced, so obviously the more things you can do to get them out of the house, programs you can create to involve kids in, like a lot of us had when we were younger. The other big thing is that I can do as a congressman in the 15th district is show up to town halls and encourage them to be multiracial, multicultural, and have everybody focus on, again, the things that they have in common and learn a little bit about their neighbor. Get everybody out of their house, off social media. You can't mandate that or make that a law, but giving opportunities to bring community together and say, hey, your congressman's in town, everybody come out and talk to me. And that would at least be something I could do.
Thank you for that. Do you have any more audience questions?
Hi, my name is Sam. I recently heard that, I believe it was Senegal, passed an amendment to their constitution stating that water is a human right. And I'm wondering if any of you have any thoughts about that or any other amendment. Other places have housing as a human right, a fundamental right. Can we do that here?
Yeah.
Hang on. Just a note, we're going to take 2 more questions after this, so keep them kind of brief.
Yes. Water is a fundamental right. Healthcare is a fundamental right. Working is a fundamental right. Absolutely. Well, that's enough.
Keeping it short, yes.
Yeah. Food, water, shelter, healthcare, absolutely are fundamental rights.
Back to my nursing and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So food, water, and shelter.
Thank you so much. And look, they can follow instructions. I said quick, they moved quick. All right. Question from you?
I'd just like a yes or no. Do you support 15 Jeffries' continued leadership of the House Democrats?
No.
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 No, with the qualification, I have to know who the options are.
Thank you for that. Our final question right here. Yep. The gentleman in the hat.
Thank you. My name is David Watts, an American. What I'd like to know if you guys, and I appreciate all your backbone for standing up, trying to do the right thing, great answers, great questions. My feeling is if all of the candidates, not only here, but democracy-wise in this country, could put more emphasis on getting the naysayer out to vote, build that into your daily program, and get the democracy back on track. There's a lot to be done. You guys are going to do some good things. One of you are going to get elected, and we thank you for all of that. I appreciate all you're doing, but we got to build more I'm mad as hell into your programs.
All right, this will be our
Yeah, can I answer that?
Yeah.
I am mad as hell. I'm sorry. I'm the guy in Network. Remember that movie? I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore. Yes, I'm absolutely angry.
I think we all are. Makes an old veterinarian run for Congress.
Yeah, I agree. All of us are pissed because, why else would we take this on if we weren't furious at, well, sure. But we also, as you say, the naysayer. When I go door to door, I spend 40 minutes with some of them. I'm talking to guys that have MAGA written on their house and, tattoos of their service in Vietnam all over. They answer the door shirtless. These are the folks that are still putting my yard signs in their yard. They voted for Trump 3 times and they're ready to say no to it now.
Andre? We're past time. We're gonna wrap it up now. I'm sorry. No more statements. I'm sorry. We're gonna also let Ms. Jen Todd. Thank you for paying attention. We're gonna let Ms. Jen Todd answer this, and then we're gonna wrap up. I'm sorry for keeping you guys.
We're all mad. And it's sad that we have to get this mad, this off in order to do anything that we should be doing from the get-go. And people are finally starting to see things. Yes, you're gonna have those that will never see what's going on. And with some of the people, you're not gonna believe anything is going to happen until it happens to them. But you have to just keep reinforcing with them that it is coming. Be prepared for it. But they still will not believe it until it actually happens. And that's what we have to keep reinforcing, that it is coming. And we're here to be, we're trying to be as proactive and not reactive as we can be. And that's one of the things that the Democrats have not been, is proactive. And that's what we have to be. We have to think of things 10 steps forward because you know what route that's going to happen. And that's what, especially with Medicaid. You know what's going to end up happening. And we have to start preparing people for that. And we have to start getting them even madder than what we are.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us. We're going to do wrap up right now. I know we kept you guys a little past time, but we do have a video from someone who is running for state senator, Brian Maxwell. We're going to put that on. If you guys would like to watch that, you are more than welcome. And then after that, we're going to have final remarks with Adam from Soy City. He's going to wrap us up. I just want to make a really quick note for everyone that's on the stage. I study politics at University of Illinois. 1 in 3% non-incumbents win their race. So that means 97 to 99% of the time the incumbent wins the race. And the reason that they do not win when that happens is because community gets behind a candidate or candidates. And none of these candidates will be successful without the backing and support of the communities. So if door knocking is not your thing, there might be another option, another job that you can do. But if we really want different representation in District 15, it's also our job. We also have to do the work, okay? I thank you guys all so much for being here. We're gonna start this video.
Are we doing a closing statement? Do we get 2 minutes to wrap up?
We came here to hear them.
If you guys are fine staying longer, that's fine. We were supposed to be done at 3 o'clock. That's my only concern. I didn't want to keep you guys. But absolutely, if you guys want to take a moment while we do this, and you guys can come back and do closing statements, that would be just fine with me. Thank you guys for being patient.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian Maxwell. I'm one of the candidates in the race for the U.S. Senate for District Durban. Sorry I couldn't be there today. I wanted to be in Decatur at this forum, but unfortunately I had to be up in Chicago for 2 other forums, trying to get around the state and meet voters. My name is Brian Maxwell. I'm an agricultural engineer and environmental scientist at the University of Illinois over here in Urbana-Champaign, where I'm also a community organizer. I grew up in rural South Carolina and rural North Carolina and got my PhD in agricultural engineering at North Carolina State University. Moved up here for a job in the crop science department and have been in Central Illinois ever since. Really love Central Illinois, really love Urbana, and I love living downstate. I got in this race running for federal office in this moment because of what I saw as a moral and political failure of the Democratic Party in 2024. Not only did we lose to Donald Trump the second time, which we're all living with the consequences of now, we did it because Democrats once again weren't listening to their voters. Despite millions of people in the streets protesting on a single issue, despite almost 1 million protest votes in the primary on a single issue on foreign policy, the Democrats chose to value their own political careers and their own donors over listening to their own voters. I think this is indicative of how both parties, the leadership of both parties work on many areas, and that kind of explains why the 3 main platform points of my policy are anti-war, Medicare for all, and making sure that billionaires and corporations pay their fair share. I think that more of the wealth produced by this country, produced by the working class, our federal tax dollars should be invested back into our local communities instead of endless wars overseas or propping up foreign governments or another round of tax breaks for billionaires. All 3 of these policies are supported by a majority of Americans, and yet they're not put forward by either party. I think it's also one of the only downstate candidates in the ballot. I think that the U.S. Senate and Illinois can use downstate representation in the U.S. Senate. A lot of downstate communities don't feel represented by Chicago area politicians. And I think in particular we would benefit from having someone who grew up in rural communities, who's worked with farmers most of my life, and can help bring that experience to the Senate, especially with relation to contributing to rewriting the farm bill, which we need a lot of rewrites. So our farming economies are in crisis right now, and we really need someone who can help put legislation into action to produce more economically sustainable farming communities and making sure that we're getting resources back into our rural communities, back into downstate communities, not just into Chicago area, larger cities. Thank you, and don't forget to vote by March 17th. And if you want a yard sign, I'm happy to drive over to Decatur and right down the road and can meet with y'all in person. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and do finishing remarks.
2 minutes.
You guys can each have 2 minutes. Whoever wants to start is fine with me. I'll let you guys sort this amongst yourselves. No, whoever wants to. Let's.
I'll start.
We're starting with Mr. Davis.
All right. You guys have a big decision. You got 4 good candidates, in my opinion. Obviously, I think I'm the best one, or I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you today. I have been a Madison County resident for over 33 years, working in Madison County, living in this district. I've been building relationships, gaining trust for my entire adult life in Madison County. So I'm already on the ground. I already understand the district. The Chicago Tribune's editorial board, in their endorsement of me, said that, in their opinion, I was the most likely one to be able to compete in the general election. If you guys agree with that, I'd appreciate your support, advice, your vote. But our website is pauldavisforcongress.com.
Friends, we are at a critical moment. As we said a moment ago, we have a lot of problems that we need to solve together. That's the only way we're going to do this. As our moderator, our kind moderator, also said, it's a very difficult uphill battle. But we climb this hill together. I am a labor organizer. I am a wage activist. I am an entertainment producer. I am rooted here in Illinois farming. I've got a few bones to pick with Mary Miller. One of them is the titanium hip that I have for bad faith employers. The kind of people that put me at risk in the workplace are the kinds of people that don't belong in Congress. I have served people with disability for the first half of my life. I have served union workers, brothers and sisters, for the latter half of my life. I have a whole resume, a whole lifetime experience of serving people and fighting for you. If you want someone who will fight for you when it matters, someone that doesn't mind taking the punches, someone that doesn't mind getting broken bones and bloody noses and has the background to prove that, then I hope I can earn your trust, your support, and your vote. And my website is Kyle for Illinois. And once again, my name is Kyle Nudo. Thank you.
I'm going to stand because I feel that this is very important. This is the, you can't hear me with my radio voice? Okay. I'm standing because this is the most important election in the history of this country. And you have to figure out, all three or four of us up here, who you're going to vote for. But I want to ask you a question. What kind of Democratic Party are you going to be a part of? Are you going to be a part of the Democratic Party that has Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and every time that we try to reach across the aisle and negotiate, no one is there? Or do you want the party of Melanie Stansbury, of James Tellerico, of Jasmine Crockett, of Gavin Newsom, of Mark Kelly, of Andy Beshears? Do you want the party that has a backbone? My friends, we've been far too silent, far too long. It's time we get a spine. It's time we find. Do we go forward with courage, or do we go forward with fear? I'm going forward with courage. And if I'm elected, I will take that courage and I will take that passion. I will take that fight and serve each and every one of you. It would be my honor and my privilege to do so. My website is electrayleigh.com. My Facebook page is Elect Rayleigh. If you're with me, I could use your vote, and I sure could use your help. Thank you.
When I started this 13 months ago, I did it because we needed a choice. That choice had been taken away from us. And that's the reason why it got in. And then more and more things started to happen. And all the injustice, especially here in the 15th. Nothing being done. No one caring. Being abandoned. That's not who I am. You know, I'm not a politician. I'm a nurse. I take care of people. And that's what I do. And that is what a representative is supposed to do, is to take care of the people in the district. And that is my main #1 goal, is to do just that. We all have problems. We all have issues. Some of them can be taken care of and some of them not, but you just want to be felt heard. And that's what I do. I listen. And that's what we need in our next representative, and that's who I am, is to be able to listen to your problems, your issues, and sometimes even a good cry. But we need to have that empathy and compassion in this district once again. And I hope to earn your support and earn your vote, and that my website is gentod2026.us. And we're phone banking and making phone calls, and we're getting the word out. Thank you.
All right, now I will try to speed through some of this, but I got some important notes to pass around to everybody here. Thank you for bearing with us. We're a little behind schedule, obviously, but thank you for staying with us. So first of all, I want to introduce both of the groups here that are hosting this event today. You have Soy City Indivisible, which is an organization I'm part of. We are here in Macon County, Illinois, and then we have Jacksonville Indivisible here from Jacksonville, Illinois. Both of our groups are relatively new. Soy City is less than 4 months old, and Jacksonville is just over 1 year old. We've been doing some crazy things, trying to really work in the pro-democracy space here. We are part of Indivisible. If you don't know how Indivisible kind of relates to its groups underneath it, so Indivisible has a very small amount of staff members that work up at the national level, and their job is just to support us here as local organizers. So there are over 2,800, I'm guessing probably closer to 3,000 groups across the United States, communities just like ours, big and small, smaller than ours, way smaller than ours, that are organizing to try to change the path of the United States. We're on a slippery path, as we're all very much aware, and we're trying to do the work to get us back on the path that we know is the right path for the country. We do have multiple upcoming events coming up that I just kind of want to briefly go over. I'm sure everybody has seen on their TVs the No Kings March or the protests that's happened. No Kings 1, No Kings 2. No Kings 1 had 5 million people across the U.S. on the streets. No Kings 2 had 7 million people in the streets. We hope to have every bit of 9 million. I don't know if they said 1,000, I meant million. We hope to have at least 9 million on the streets. This time we need everybody to get involved. That is on March 28th, and we're hosting one here in Decatur. They're hosting one in Jacksonville, and there are ones all across the U.S. that will be hosted. You can go to nokings.org to find out more information. If you are local to Macon County or to Jacksonville, look on our Facebook pages or our website. We here in Decatur will be having a protest on March 7th. It's called Time for Change. It is organized around the moving of the clocks forward. We're hoping to move our country forward as well. This is really kind of a practice to get us ready for No King. So we invite anybody to come out. The information is already posted online, and in our newsletters, we'll be sending out more info about that soon. We're also going to have a sign making event for No King. That will be on March 21st. Information about that will be forthcoming very soon. Okay, I want to extend a few thank yous. So we want to thank Tabitha for doing a great job moderating, and the candidates for being here, for running for office, and for being here. We have candidates that are not at this table, as you can tell. They were invited. These guys came out. So we really appreciate them coming out to meet with their constituents. Mary Miller does not like to meet with her constituents. These guys are meeting with their potential constituents. So thank you guys. Okay, so I want to personally thank all of the group here from Soy City Indivisible and the people from Jacksonville Indivisible. We put a lot of time and effort into these events to produce these events. We appreciate you guys coming out, but I want to thank every part of the team here that has done the work to get this started. And then next, I want to thank the Decatur Public Library for hosting us. This is an amazing facility to have. It's really hard to find venues where you can host things like this. Most places require event insurance. There's all kinds of prerequisites. Most places charge. The Decatur Public Library is open to any nonprofit organization to host for free. So we really appreciate their support and support of the community here. Okay. Now is the ask time. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to me. My name is Adam Herman. I am originally from Calhoun County, Illinois. Then had moved to Greene County, Illinois, lived in Carrollton. And now I have moved up here to Decatur. I'm not a career activist. I have been involved for about 4 years with the Human Rights Campaign. I was on the St. Louis Steering Committee. So I do have a little bit of time and, like doing the work, but this is not a career. I work in IT. This is not what I envisioned myself doing. I kind of made the joke that, coming out of the pandemic, I was really excited. I really enjoyed, we did a couple of those painting nights, just to pass time because we weren't leaving our houses. And I was like, this is really fun. I wouldn't mind taking this up, after the pandemic's over. Well, flash forward to today, and I did take up painting, but it's painting protest signs. Not exactly what I had in mind, but it still fits, I guess. This moment, we're in crisis right now in this country. This is an incredibly serious time to have incredibly unserious people in places of leadership. There are so many issues that we have to work on in the US. It feels like a 5-alarm fire 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every news refresh of your news feed is like, what in the heck is happening today? This is insanity. So it takes all of us to get involved. You all have made the first step today. You have came out to meet with the people that are vying to take over a seat of a representative that is not working for the people. She is working for corporate interests, not for the people. So thank you for coming out. There's a lot more to do. This is not a moment to sit down and be idle. So I did forget, I want to thank our sponsors, but this is a perfect time to say this. You'll see up here on the screen, we have all of the sponsors of the groups. Join one of these groups. I don't care if it's ours. I don't care which one it is. Find a local pro-democracy group, join, get involved, come to protest, do everything you can to change the tide of this moment, because it is going to take absolutely every one of us. So I'm going to wrap this. We have information back here about Jacksonville Indivisible and Soy City Indivisible back here on the table. If you did not register and mobilize, I encourage you to scan that QR code back there and put in your email address, and we'll get you on our mailing list. It asks you which groups you want to be part of, want to get on our mailing list up. So make sure you scan that QR code. Again, I'm gonna wrap this and let everybody go home. Thank you so much. Make sure you grab a little food on the way out the door. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Thanks, guys.
Okay.